Welcome to the DRGN SLYR Podcast by East Idaho Credit Union. I am Steven. With me, as always, is Bailey. And today's guest, Tommy Higham from Lola Blankets. Tommy,
Yes.
welcome.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is great. So, okay, let's start off with, we're going to go to a couple of different places, but let's start with, tell us about your company. Tell us about what you guys do.
Okay, so we make the most comfortable and best blankets in the world. But no, we sell blankets.
Mm-hmm.
We're relatively newer. We've been in business for, it's only been 18 months. So we're pretty new. And yeah, things have been going great. And yeah, we just sell one type of faux fur, or a lot of people in this area would know, like minky blankets.
Minky?
Yes.
I don't know that I've heard that term before.
You've never heard it? Okay.
I'm from Texas. Maybe that's part of it.
It's very, very much, very popular in like this area of the world. Yes.
Okay. I like it.
Have you heard of?
Yes.
Yeah, you
yeah,
know
because
what
I have
that
a
means.
child, and so like baby blankets, if you get a minky one, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is
it's like
real
a nice
good.
minky
Yes.
blanket.
Yeah. So
here.
minky is an actual like type of fabric that was developed about 11 years ago, and so they've named it minky. It's like faux fur.
Does it feel like mink fur then? Is that the idea?
It's 100% polyester, so it's basically It's faux fur.
like sleeping with like 100 baby minks with you all the time, something like that.
Okay, yes, we'll go with that.
That's a weird way to phrase it.
No, I'm trying to picture it in my head.
Yeah, it's very soft, unbelievably soft, very comfortable, and it's very comforting and therapeutic for people.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. So I was on your website and I read about your story a little bit and why you started it and how you got your name, which was really inspiring to me. Why don't you tell people why you started the business and where you got your name from? Okay,
so it's interesting because I find it hard to incorporate the story with the business for some reason, because it's hard to talk about for our family, but it is also beautiful as well. So my mom, she passed away from breast cancer. Wow, it's been 2.5 years. So she passed away 2.5 years ago. She had she battled breast cancer for a long time, for almost 7 years, 6.5 years. And so during that time when she was going to treatment or when she wasn't feeling great, she had this blanket that she loved. Like, it was very comforting for her, and our entire family grew to love this blanket that she had. Even like when we would spend time with her, we loved the blanket, and she knew that. And so after she had passed away, we didn't know this, but she had the exact blanket made for each of her children. So there's 5 of us. So there were 5 blankets in her bedroom, all packaged up with an individual handwritten note to all of her kids. So, sorry, that's hard to even talk about, because we don't really, don't really tell that exact part of the story very often. But that's what had happened. And so all of us have the original Lola blanket. We all have one, and so they mean a lot to us, the original ones. And so I was like, you know what would be a great way to honor her story and her life than to, let everybody have a Lola blanket. And her name isn't Lola, by the way. It's Amy. But her nickname, it's just because she, like, her sense of humor is so funny. Her nickname was Lola. Mm-hmm. So we named the business Lola Blankets, and in honor of her, and in every box there is her story, just basically describing how brave she was in battling breast cancer, and that the mission of the business is to bring comfort and encouragement to women living with breast cancer, and then basically comfort and encouragement to everyone as well. And so monthly we donate blankets to Huntsman Cancer Institute at the same office that she received treatment. And then we also donate a percentage of our pink blanket to a breast cancer foundation as well. So that's the story of how it started. And then, I would like to talk about the beginnings of it more in the business, but I'm still figuring out a way to do that because it's just difficult.
Yeah, I understand. What strikes me so much about your business, and we love having guests like this because there's lots of businesses out there that when you ask them, like, why do you do what you do? They say, well, because we're trying to turn a profit, right?
Yeah.
And that's well and fine. That's part of, the game that we play and the scorecard that we use in life. But we really love to see these businesses that have a meaning beyond just turning a profit, right?
Right.
Which is something that impresses us about what you do is there's a real cause behind what you do, which we absolutely love. So let's go back in time a little bit here. Why did you decide to start it? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah. Well, I've always been an entrepreneur, and I remember when I was, I think 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old, my family would pick raspberries, and we'd pick tons of raspberries, and we had all these flats of raspberries on the counter, and then they came into the kitchen, they were gone, and I was out on the street selling them on the street at 6 years old. And I sold them.
Yeah.
They're gone.
And your mom's like, hey, that's our raspberries.
She's like, we spent hours and hours on these raspberries and they are gone. You sold them. And I'm like a child, like a little kid. So I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset. I started a business in college selling bed frames of all things. And so I did that for a while. I've, just always been very interested in entrepreneurship, and it's what I knew I wanted to do. And I thought, well, losing my mom was so hard. It's been so therapeutic to be able to put my career and passion that's also tied in her honor and her name, and something that I can wake up every day now and do for my full-time job and be like, wow, this is about her. Mm-hmm. And be also at the same time be able to help women who are going through what she went through. And so I think it all, my life story, it all ties in together for what I'm doing now with Lola Blankets pretty well. So it's my passion, and it's my mom was my best friend, and it's all ties in pretty well.
Yeah. So at what was the spark where you were like, oh, I think there's something here, from the story with your mom to the blankets handed out to you guys, and then something happened in your brain where you said, actually, I think we've got something here.
Honestly, I do remember that moment, and it was when I said the words out loud, Lola Blanket.
Oh.
Yep. That is when I knew. I was like, this is something that, we can do in honor of her. This is something that could be a great business. Mm-hmm. And it just sounded right when I said it out loud. And then I was like, yep, I'm gonna pursue this.
Yeah. Did you feel like there was any resistance from your family around proceeding kind of with this business, with the name or anything like that?
No, they thought it was an amazing idea. Yeah. I think it was nice for everyone because, again, it's so difficult. She was the most important member of our family by far, the glue that held us together. And so I think that everyone was like, yeah, let's do something to, help other women who are going through this, because breast cancer is so difficult. And then B, it's we can talk about mom more.
Yeah. So, way to honor her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So you say Lola Blankets out loud.
Yeah.
And you're like, we've got something.
Yeah.
What next? What happens after that?
So I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I just started researching suppliers for this type of fabric. I knew nothing about the fabric. I didn't know how it was made. I didn't know where you'd get it made. I didn't know anything about it. And so I was actually driving around Los Angeles, going to just Google searches for, minky fabric suppliers, faux fur suppliers, and running into a lot of really interesting people and places. And there was
fabric world's crazy.
It is. It really is. And there was a lot of scary places. And I was literally driving around Los Angeles, and a lot of closed doors. There were some people who were not super nice. And then I finally found a manufacturer. They're more of a third party. They buy the fabric and then resell it, who was willing to make our first blanket with a minimum order. And she basically was just being nice because I don't know. She's like a lot of people do this. It's like, you don't need, she's like, yeah, but we'll help you out. So I found the right place and we made the first round of blankets, and yeah, that was it. That's how we started.
Yeah. Crazy. It's so interesting to me, like early businesses, every person we've talked to, there's always like somebody like that who's just like, yeah, it's dumb, but I'll help you anyway.
Yeah.
Right? It's always so interesting to see kind of the community come together around a new business.
Actually, now I remember it was a little more interesting. So I went into that place, that supplier, and the person who I was supposed to speak to was really, really rude. And basically didn't give me the time of day to work with me because we were wanting to make such a small quantity.
Yeah.
And
there wasn't any money in it for him.
Was her assistant who was like, her overheard everything. And she was like, well, I'm going to help you out.
Wow.
And so it wasn't the person I was supposed to work with. It was somebody else who like felt bad. And now I think that the person, like the owner of that place, is like, knows how well we're doing. And it's like, oh, well, we kind of screwed because we don't work with them. We don't work with them anymore. But
it's your own sort of Pretty Woman moment.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. That's funny. So what was this like order quantity where people were like, get out of here, this is a joke?
We just wanted to make 300 blankets to start with,
which feels like a ton of blankets to me.
I thought it was. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. Like, I don't know if we can sell that many, but that was the minimum order.
Okay, so she takes pity upon you and makes your first 300 blankets. What happens after that?
We get them, and then, so the interesting thing is I was doing everything in the business in the beginning. Like I'm the photographer, I run the social media, building the website, like doing literally everything. Like I'm asking my friends to be the models, doing all of that. So that's what I started doing. I just was like trying to create a brand, like a feeling. And so I was making it as aesthetic as possible because I saw in the space that the blanket world, it was lacking a cool factor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so I was trying to make it very different than what was available.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing, was trying to put a little bit of an edge, I don't know if you'll say, on blankets, which sounds so weird saying it out loud, but like making the product more accessible for more like everyone instead of just a certain amount of people.
Interesting. You mentioned having like your friends model. What does modeling a blanket entail? Exactly? Yeah,
it's actually hard.
You have to teach them. I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. So a lot of people like will hold it and fold it, but I like them to be like very like movement in the photos.
Interesting.
And yeah, there's a lot of like cozy faces you're asking them to make, but I don't know. We try to make it more
wearing it like a toga.
Yeah, wearing it, using it, try to like lots of like natural like lifestyle stuff. But again, living in Los Angeles, I think was a really like a advantage because I had access to a lot of cool spaces. Yeah, my friends were doing a lot of cool things, and so it was easier.
So you mentioned trying to take blankets and make it a little cooler, a little edgier.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How do you do that?
So we like some of our models will have earrings or tattoos or, like just a little bit. The spaces that we're using are more modern. We, in the beginning, actually, we don't use this term now, but we called the blanket the modern minky. But now we don't use that. But that was more of the idea that it was more like a new era of this product. But yeah, so it's more like it's hard to describe, but just a more aesthetic version of this product than what was available before.
Yeah, just more visually modern.
Yeah. Like it's like cool to look at.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So for somebody uninitiated like myself, what does it feel like to actually sleep with one of these minky blankets? What is that like?
So the way I describe it, it's like a mid-weight. So if you've used a weighted blanket, it's not as heavy, so you don't feel claustrophobic. Okay. But there's some weight to it, so that's like therapeutic and comforting. There's stretch, so like there's actually elastic inside the fabric, so when you put it around you, it actually will like hug you back. So you're getting that as well. You're getting another level of comfort, and then the fibers, the fabric itself is actually super soft, like very silky, like the softest you'll ever feel. And so you're getting that like sensory comfort. Well, so there's like 3 levels of comfort going on. So it just makes the best blanket.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the blanket that hugs you back.
Yeah.
That's good.
That is it.
Yeah. Perfect for lonely people, right? Lonely nights.
Yeah. Basically anybody.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of get the first foundational pieces of the business going.
Yep.
Were you like, okay, I've got these 300 blankets. How in the world am I going to sell these 300 blankets?
Yeah, I was scared, actually. Honestly, the better part of this story is when we made another order of a different style of blanket. And I was living in a studio apartment in Los Angeles. And the blankets arrived, and that was where I was keeping everything. And my apartment was 400 square feet. I'm not kidding you. The boxes of blankets went to the ceiling. I couldn't open the stove. I couldn't open my refrigerator. I had a little path to get to my bed, and that was it.
Did you have like 40 blankets on your bed that you were sleeping with? Just to,
I had a bunch. A bunch on the bed, but like literally the boxes. I have photos like you couldn't use the apartment. I literally was going in and out of like a little path. In and out of the door.
And like one of those hoarder TV shows, kind of like that?
It was maybe worse. And the balcony was full. Like it was crazy. But it's actually fun to look back on now because we ended up, selling all those blankets. And obviously then we started using a warehouse. But the first warehouse was my studio apartment. And I actually had COVID at the time too when they first arrived. Oh, no. So I was like sick with COVID. The entire apartment was full of blankets. It was one of the lowest lows I've ever been in, actually.
I'm sure you were like, I got to get out of this place.
Yes, I was like, this is terrible. Yeah. But it was all part of the story. So it was pretty interesting.
All right. So you got an apartment full of blankets from ceiling to floor. How did you sell them? What was your play there? Were you going direct to consumer? Were you wholesaling? What were you doing there?
At East Idaho Credit Union, we offer startup loans for emerging businesses to help support you in the early stages of growth. This could be for inventory, equipment, or other operating expenses. Almost all businesses qualify. Get started today by visiting us at eastidahocu.org/start, federally insured by the NCUA.
All right, so you got an apartment full of blankets from ceiling to floor. How did you sell them? What was your play there? Were you going direct to consumer? Were you wholesaling? What were you doing there?
So we've only always done direct to consumer. In the very beginning, we were using influencers. We actually got very lucky very early on with an influencer who naturally bought them.
Oh, yeah.
And she posted, and then she has been on one of our top selling influencers like since. So we got lucky with that. There's actually just been a lot of little like things that have been lucky. And I believe that it's kind of like my mom, like helping my efforts. But yeah, so we've just always from the very beginning used influencers on social media. And now we run, Facebook ads and things like that. But it's always just been like Instagram and posting.
Yeah.
What influencers have you worked with?
So we recently have worked with Chris Loves Julia. The girl that I'm speaking about in the very beginning, her name is Kaylee Rogers. She lives in Ohio. So it's just so interesting how we find these people. And who else of our top sellers? Harmony Bose. She lives in Utah. She sells a lot. Who else sells a lot? And Tara Thuison, we just started working with. she sells a lot. But a lot of like smaller accounts, which has been interesting. They have been good for us as well. Like not just like big name people.
Yeah. So for somebody in our audience who's building a business around, a lot of people don't actually understand what influencer marketing is about. How would you first select, here are the type of influencers that I want to bring into the stable? Then how do you go after them?
It's really, really interesting. Like so I feel weird like saying names because I don't want them to ever hear like, but there are some people, there are some big influencers we've worked with, like big name people who don't sell anything.
Yeah.
And then there are some accounts or some influencers or smaller, as far as followers go, and they sell so much.
Interesting.
And so you have to really understand who the followers are, understand who is interacting with them, and then go from there, because you could be, it's just you're selling the wrong product to the wrong audience.
The wrong audience, sure. Yeah. Okay, so if you're like, all right, let's go looking for influencers.
Yep. How
do you, for Lola Blankets, evaluate this is the right influencer for me or not?
So they are usually a mom, and they're a cool mom. And then also they're very interested in their home. They're like always like their followers are interested in their design abilities. And what else? And they talk a lot on to their followers. They're talking to their followers like their friends.
Yeah, sure.
So there's a lot of influencers who have a large following who are very mysterious and like people don't know them. They just follow them because they're posting cool things. But the influencers who are speaking to their following like their best friends are very effective in selling. Yeah,
interesting. We had an influencer on a while back, and one of the things that's really, really interesting about what she does is everybody that follows her feels like they know she's like a friend, right? They know
like if you saw her in the grocery store, like, oh, hey, like, what's up? Yeah. And I think that's when they're doing a good job,
right?
Is because they're like, oh, like we know you.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So you've identified, I want this influencer. How do you approach them? How do you talk to them?
So honestly, I remember in the very beginning, I was just sending DMs from the account. So I tried to make the account look really cool, right? Like with like the photos and like look like you'd want to work with us. And then I just start sending product out, obviously for free. And I was really surprised at how many. Well, the product's amazing. That's why.
That helps. Yeah, that helps a lot.
But like when they would get it, they actually would use it. I would see them in like, because I'm following these people, I'd see them in their houses. They're using them, and then honestly, a lot of them would post naturally about the blanket because it was so good. I wouldn't pay them. I wouldn't work any deals out.
Wow.
So I got really confident with that and being like, well, I'm just going to start sending them out to people. I actually sent one out to a girl from Selling Sunset. I don't know if you've watched on Netflix.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, her name is Amanza. Do you know Amanza? Okay. She's one of the agents on Selling Sunset. And I just, like she responded like, okay, I send a couple out, and she posted. She has I think she has like 1 million followers, but it's just crazy, like, because the product is so good that people just naturally share about it.
Yeah. Well, that sure helps.
And you're about to find out.
I'm excited. Okay, so what people didn't see off camera is Tommy brought me one of these blankets, so I'm excited to get home.
The most popular one.
Oh man,
it's a beautiful color.
I might take it back to my office today and just close the door, wrap myself up. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so you've started selling because this seems to be like a recurring thing that happens for everybody. Is at some point you're like, oh crud, we're out of the 300 blankets.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah.
So tell me about the moment where you're like, oh, this is actually working.
Yeah. So I remember, I think it was leading up to Christmas. So we launched the business in September. Things were going okay. And then when the holiday season picked up, obviously we sold a bunch, but we sold out and we had no product, zero.
Your apartment was empty.
Yeah, apartment was empty. And then we had other designs too that we had lower quantities of. They were also sold out. So we quickly just put everything on pre-order. And it was so crazy because people were pre-ordering the blanket and it was like fully telling them that they wouldn't get it until the next year.
Yeah.
in January, February, and they were doing it, and then we were selling. It was just continuing to sell, and it was that caramel and cream blanket that you have. It was just so popular, the color, the tie-dye design, and it just continued to sell on pre-order. And I'm like, are these people, do they know they're not going to get it for a while? Because I've never purchased anything on pre-order.
No, that feels crazy to me.
I'm like, I wouldn't do that. But they were doing it, and it was just, that's when I knew. I was like, okay, well, we need to really look at this and like make sure that we have inventory and expand. And so we did that.
Yeah.
And when I say we, my brother helps me.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I say we because he helps a little. He helps. Yes, he helps.
And so, what year was that this was taking place? How long ago?
So what are we in? 2023.
This is 23.
So this was September 2021.
21. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I'd worked on it for a while leading up to like the launch of the business. Obviously running into a lot of like closed doors, but then we launched in September 2021, and we've been, and I actually just barely left my corporate job, just a little while ago to do it full time.
Yeah.
I was doing both for a long time.
A lot of people do. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So you get through the holiday season, you sell out of everything. What does that kind of next phase look like going into like that next year? Yeah, where you kind of reload on all your stock, and then you're. What do you do?
So we just tried to put some systems in place that were, like, we hired a marketing agency because we're like, well, if we're going to have more inventory, we need to sell even more. So we were put in contact. Well, I don't know if you know Wally Cases.
Yeah.
Wally Cases. So I'm good friends with Jenna, and so they helped us get in contact with their marketing agency. So we started using them. They really helped us with ads and things like that. So we did that, and then we raised a little bit of money because inventory is expensive.
Sure.
And then we made a large order. And so,
Okay, so this is an interesting topic for a lot of people. You mentioned that you raised some money.
Yep.
There's a lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah.
What did you look into? What did you research when it came to raising capital? Then what did you ultimately go with and do?
At East Idaho Credit Union, we're changing the future of business with our Velocity Money Market account. You can receive unbeatable returns on tiered interest rates. We have rates up to 2.02% annual percentage yield. East Idaho Credit Union puts local businesses first because when you do better, we all do better. Federally insured by the NCUA.
You mentioned that you raised some money.
Yep.
There's a lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah.
What did you look into? What did you research when it came to raising capital? Then what did you ultimately go with and do?
Yeah. So I started the business so it's so interesting. So I had a small piece of property in Island Park that I had purchased a year before, and someone offered to buy it from me. And so I sold it and I made a little bit of money, not very much. I think it was like $20,000. I was like, whatever, I made $20,000. So I used that money to actually start the business initially.
Right.
And then when we had to raise money to buy more inventory, I looked into like bank financing, and it just didn't seem like a great option. And so I, luckily enough, was able to raise the money needed through friends and family.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, right. But it was a loan. It's paid back.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like a percentage of the company given. It was like, hey, like, listen, like, we need this for inventory, and then when we sell it, because we will, we'll just pay back.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's that's such an interesting topic for startup businesses to figure out how to fund the thing.
It's a huge problem.
At the beginning. Yeah. And obviously there's loans through financial institutions, there are operating lines of credit. In fact, our credit union does like a startup loan for these little starting businesses specifically for that. And then there's the angel investor thing, which is kind of a route that you went. There's going to private equity firms and venture capitalists and all kinds of weird things that you can do.
It's interesting because now we're at another phase of the business where we're doing the same thing, but it's on a much larger level, and it's hard.
I remember working at this company years ago. It was a technology company, and we were bootstrapped all through the beginning from about, $0 in revenue to about 5 million.
Yeah.
Just bootstrapped the whole way.
Yep.
And it felt like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really hard.
Oh yeah.
Our founder had gotten some angel investment from I think it was his father-in-law or something like that.
Yep.
But we were kind of ready, and we had the recurring revenue that it made sense for us to start going and talking to venture capitalists and private equity firms to get a real Series A funding. And my goodness, the vetting process on that is something, man.
Yeah.
It is something.
Yes.
I spent probably a year just preparing presentations and going to meetings and answering questions that would make anybody uncomfortable, right? Like enough to make you blush.
Yeah.
Talking about, these VCs want to know everything.
Yeah.
About
I
you.
feel like it's one of the hardest things in a growing business is the funding. So it's definitely.
The one piece of advice I'll give to anybody who's going through that: don't lie to the VC firm. Right? Just be 100% honest.
Yeah.
Hair and all, tell them everything.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
That's helpful. Okay. Really, really interesting. Okay. So what stage are you in now? So you're looking at raising more capital today.
Yeah.
What's that for? What are you doing with that?
So this last holiday season was so it was so crazy. We thought we had more than enough inventory, and we sold out. So, and I saw, cause I still do the social media cause I'm so particular about everything. So I'm I can't let anyone run the social media. I am on top of everything. So I saw the demand that was still there even after we were sold out. Leading up to Christmas is people are it's such a good gift that people were just, still trying so hard to buy them, and we don't have any.
Yeah.
So I saw the demand that was there, even though we did so well this last holiday season. And so preparing for this next holiday season inventory wise, it's a lot. It's just a lot. So I want to be over prepared because I'd like to not sell out and do really great. So yeah.
So tell me about, so you're getting the blankets made. How are you doing the packaging and the fulfillment and all of that sort of stuff?
So we actually use a fulfillment center here in Idaho Falls.
Nice.
It's Elevate Fulfillment.
Okay.
It's I went to school with, it's the Hones. I don't know. I have family friends.
Nice.
And so I originally had planned on doing them myself in the beginning. That was such a bad idea because that would never have worked. So we started using them really early on, and then they've been great. And so basically they fulfill all orders. So the order comes in and they fulfill and ship it out.
That's awesome.
And then packaging, our manufacturer
does all that for you too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Okay. There's something I think that's really, really important there. So first of all, why did you decide maybe I'm not going to do the fulfillment? How did you make that choice?
Well, we started selling just so we did so well from day one that I was just I can't do this.
Yeah.
Because I was working my full-time job.
Yeah.
And I was there's no way, because orders, I think a lot of success in a direct to consumer or a consumer products business, people care about the shipping time. Yeah. And if I was taking a week or two to ship out a product, it was that's not going to work.
Right.
So we just started working with them early on.
So I think the lesson here is you got to figure out where to move the chess pieces, right? To really maximize your skill set, right?
Yeah.
Because as the founder and the architect of the whole thing, is your most usefulness going to be fulfilling orders?
Right.
No. It's just not.
Yeah.
Right. It's figuring out what the next stage of the company is. It's figuring out, more R&D on design work and everything else, right?
Something that comes to mind too is I was doing all the customer service for such a long time, and you would be shocked at the emails and the messages that you get. And I am not the person to be responding to those. I can tell you that.
You're a little too snarky too
quick.
Oh
my gosh. And so, to your point, outsourcing and hiring customer service reps has been the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So
you're
right.
Okay. So tell me about your favorite email that you got, the most ridiculous email that you got from a customer service
what comes to mind is I'm just so surprised how many people are just trying to rip. They think that every business is the size of Walmart or Target, and that they're just lying and trying to get things for free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly just surprised how many there are. Like there are people who's like will straight up say we didn't get it, and I'm like, I have a photo from FedEx that it's on your doorstep. Like you absolutely have it.
Yeah.
And, but they're trying to get you to send out another one. So we just we have policies in place, and now our we had a couple customer service reps, and they just stick to the policy.
Yeah.
But they're just little things like crazy. Like there's a thread, like a thread. They'll send a photo of like one thread coming out of the blanket, and they're like, this isn't unacceptable. I'm like, I don't, you could cut it off.
You're unacceptable, sir. Yeah.
You could just snip it off. But I mean, it's the more you sell, the more people you're going to have to interact with. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Did it at all change your perspective on like humanity?
Yes.
And what people are? Yeah.
Yeah. I am like, oh my gosh, I'm never complaining. Like I'm not ever going to complain about anything with any business. I'm going to be so nice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So yeah, for sure. Because it's just, I feel like, we try so hard to make the product perfect and like, do everything the best. Cause that's, again, like, because it's linked to my mom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I think that's actually why I feel like I've been able to make it what it is now, just because I've felt that pressure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, everything has to be the best. Like the box, like, has to be the best. The product has to be the best. The packaging it's because it's like, well, she's the best.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's been, And then when you make all those efforts and then a customer is like complaining, I'm just like, I take it really personally. And so it's good that I'm not speaking to them.
I've always maintained that everybody should have to like wait tables when they're young.
Yeah.
So that you understand what that's like, so that you treat wait staff nicely.
Oh yeah,
have
where are you from?
Yeah.
Have a conversation with them.
Yeah. And you can tell when people have never waited tables before.
Right.
You can really tell what those people are
right.
like. But, okay, so what's next for you guys? What's coming?
We're just trying to we're trying to be the best in the blanket space.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds so funny. It's like we're talking about tech or something. But like just trying to be the best option for blankets. And we have some goals that we want to hit with just blankets. We've started to incorporate a few other products. I don't know if you've seen, like we do like, it's called the Naughty Pillow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's made from the same like really soft minky faux fur fabric, but it's like a knot. So it's like a circle. It's a ball. We've started selling those. They look really good. But we're trying to eventually add other products in under the Lola brand, and just see how those do, but continue to obviously be the number one option for. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we're just barely scratching the surface of blankets, because a blanket, it's an interesting product because literally every single person would appreciate a quality blanket because you'd use it every day.
Every day. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
My grandpa always told me that the best business in the world is to run a funeral home, because you never run out of demand. Yeah.
Yes. Or something to do with taxes.
Yeah, there you go.
Everyone's got to pay those.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Most of our customers are women, almost 95%, but they will buy one and then they'll buy multiples because they're buying them for the men that steal them from them. And so we get so many messages of my husband, my boyfriend, he steals this blanket. I don't even have it anymore. I'm buying one for myself. So it's funny. Like the guys aren't buying them as much, but they're getting them.
Yeah. It's so interesting. You mentioned about women being 95% who we've found that women have most of the purchasing power in their households, right? Like they control the finances most of the time and make most of the decisions around it. It's pretty interesting, actually.
It is interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so after hearing that story and kind of where you've been and where you're at and where you're going, if there was an entrepreneur who's trying to follow in your footsteps, what kind of advice would you give them? What would you tell them about starting a business and bringing it to kind of the point that you have it now?
I would say the advice I would give is to, first of all, just start. Because I've talked to so many people. I've had people ask me questions like, oh, like, how did you get this idea where you were sure that you wanted to put this much time and money into? And the answer is I wasn't sure.
Right.
But I think the most important thing in success and in entrepreneurship is just knowing where you're going and not being scared of the outcome. Just being fully like committed and being like, well, I'm just going to see, and you're doing it. And so I had someone just the other day be like, oh, I have this idea. I really think it would work, but I want to make sure everything is perfect before I start. I'm like, no, you just need to start. Just start, and like you will figure it out literally as you fail, as you run into problems every day. So my number one advice is to just start. Like if you have the most, like the raw idea, I would say just get it going as soon as possible. And then you're going to, perfect it as you move forward. And then to be just brave. Don't be scared. Like what's going to happen? Nothing.
Yeah.
Like just try.
It's true. Yeah,
just try. Who cares what anyone thinks? Like just try. I mean, sometimes I feel embarrassed because I'm like 32 years old and I'm like selling fuzzy blankets, but like at the same time I don't, because it's like, well, who cares? Like, yeah.
People need fuzzy blankets.
They do.
Yeah.
And nothing fuzzy is a bad word. Soft.
Okay.
Yes.
There's great power in iteration, right? Like just get something out there, and then you can adjust it until it becomes perfect ultimately.
Right. Just get going.
We're not building airplanes, right? You can take some time while that thing's going to figure out the details.
Exactly.
That's a really interesting one. The other one that I think is valuable, and I can't remember who told us this, but we had a guest on that was like, you got to be able to like look at your idea that you had a month ago and be like, that was a stupid idea, right?
Yeah.
Like that didn't work at all, and just be able to move on from it and not get emotionally attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would also say taking feedback from others, but actually not listening sometimes.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Because I had a lot of people just kind of like, you'll run into two types of people. You'll run into types of people who are fully like they want your success, and then you run into people who you think want your success but actually don't.
Yeah.
And so they'll try to like morph your idea into like thinking that it's not good and you shouldn't pursue it. So I would just also say be careful who you share everything with, because they really can influence how you feel about what you're doing.
I've heard that feedback a number of times actually, and it gets particularly difficult when it's like family members.
Yeah.
That don't get it
most of the time,
right? They just don't get it, but you're like, I love you, but I just think your opinion sucks.
Well, my family think they're like, you're crazy. So like everything I say, they're just like, go ahead, do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Really, really good advice. Okay, so how do you know which ones to listen to and which ones not to listen to?
That's a really good question. If I think about the people that I would go to, I would be able to describe them as, so the people who would check on you if they didn't hear from you for a long time. Okay. Like if you were really quiet, they were like, okay, well, what's going on? So I feel like those type of people, it's okay to share your entrepreneurial ideas or goals with. And then for other people, maybe not
so much.
That's good advice.
Yeah. I don't know. And I feel like I've learned this throughout the years, because I've tried to start a few businesses. There's other businesses I've started that I didn't go through with just for different reasons. But I just been more selective with who I share information with.
You just brought up something that's, I think it's left out of a lot of people's stories. That this isn't your first go around. Like you've tried on a couple of other businesses and for whatever reason, those didn't work out. A lot of people like to portray this image of like, my first time I was a genius. I nailed it.
Yeah. Well, no, I've learned so much like that has helped in this business in Lola Blankets. Like the bed frame company I started in college because I didn't have any money, and I built a bed frame that I posted on the internet and people liked. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to sell these. But I ran into so many problems. Like they were like 600 pounds and like, I'm like trying to package them and build them myself. And the shipping was hundreds of dollars. Like it was just logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I learned, like I'm not getting into that problem again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then I've started another business that it was just so expensive to start. It was a food business, like a food product. And I was like, oh, I need $1 million. Like that's not going to happen. So it's like, you just run into roadblocks and then you learn, how to handle them moving forward.
Yeah.
When you run into those roadblocks, how do you mentally overcome that? Like you can go forward and that it's not just like a stopping place.
I think a lot, I feel lucky because again, going back to my mom, like she raised me to, I don't know for whatever reason, how she instilled a confidence that was like, you can do anything. Even though you're from Shelley, Idaho, you could be a fashion designer in Italy. You can, and I truly believe that. I think there's a confidence that I have that has helped me with those roadblocks. So like if I run into a problem, I'm like, oh, well, I'll figure it out. I'll just go somewhere else. But I think most importantly, when you run into a problem, that you just know that you're going to figure it out. Like you don't give up, but you just have this like belief, even if it's like delusional, like you're just like, well, I'm going to figure it out. And there's going to be something that's going to come along, whether it be luck, like whether it be like a connection, and it's all going to work out. So, I mean, maybe faith, maybe luck, but like just this ongoing belief. Maybe this is just this belief that everything's going to work out. And when you run into those problems, I think is super helpful.
Yeah, I think it's funny you use the word delusion because I think there's a lot of truth to that, actually.
Yeah.
You have to be kind of hard-headed and just be, everything might be telling you no.
Yeah.
But you just have to be like, no, I'm pretty sure it's yes, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we're just going to keep going and it's going to be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's always part of these entrepreneur stories every time is some level of like righteous delusion, I guess, right? That pushes them forward into something great.
Yeah, I think it's really important to create your own reality, especially when you're trying to accomplish a goal.
One of the ways that they used to describe Steve Jobs, particularly in the venture capitalist community, is that he had this ability to bend reality to his will.
Yeah.
Right? Like he just believed it was going to be one way and the world just followed that.
Yeah.
Even if it was ridiculous, right?
Yep.
He said, I want my entire music library here.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, that's crazy. And then the world conformed around it.
Exactly.
And it's something you see in successful entrepreneurs, right? Is they just say, no, my reality is going to be X. Then they just figure out ways to make X become a reality.
That's interesting. That's very true.
Yeah.
I don't know about blankets with that, but we're, no, we are.
Yeah. Gosh, those are good pieces of advice. Was there anything else that you would give as advice to people? That's really good stuff.
I just think another piece of like success, like so my first part of my life was golf. So I played golf at BYU. Mm-hmm. Like that was what I dedicated my first 20 years of my life to. And I look back on what I've learned about success thus far in my life, and I think the number one piece of advice that I would give to anyone about anything, whether it be entrepreneurship or anything in life, is just knowing what you want. I just think that most people, they don't know exactly what they want. They're not clear on that. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not clear on what you want to accomplish or what you want out of your life, you're probably not going to get it, or you're going to be continually frustrated thinking, why aren't things working out for me? Why am I not more successful? And chances are you just probably aren't clear on what you want.
Yeah.
So if you can get clear on what you want earlier than later, I think that's the number one key to being successful.
Did you ever read Alice in Wonderland, that book? Or I guess in the movie too.
I was going to say, I didn't know there was a book.
You didn't know there was a book?
I mean, I'm not the biggest reader, but I mean, I probably watched the movie.
So I can't remember if it's in the movie or not, but in the book, Alice is wandering through like the forest and she runs into the Cheshire Cat, right? Mm-hmm. And the path diverges and there's two ways for her to go. And she asks the Cheshire Cat, which way do I go? And he says to her, well, where are you trying to get to?
Yep.
And she says, I don't know. And he says, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately the lesson I always took from
That's a good example. That's great. That's
you got to know where you're going if you're going to figure out which path to take.
Yeah. And I've talked to people when they're like, well, I don't know what I want. Well, I just think it doesn't really matter. You just have to pick because life is limitless. There are so many options that are good options about what you want out of life or what you want success to look like, but you have to choose. It's like when you order dinner, it's like there's a lot of options. You have to pick one.
Right. Yeah.
So it's the same thing. So
you've been to dinner with those people. I don't know. I just,
Yeah. Yes. But I think that's super important. And I think it's not talked about in that way because it seems so simple. We'll just choose. Well, it's not that simple. You really have to just decide where you're going. Yeah.
An all-time great line on our podcast, life is limitless. Love that. It was a great lesson there.
Yeah.
What do you feel like were the biggest roadblocks and challenges that you've had to deal with over the last couple of years as you've built this business?
So throughout Lola, I would say, honestly, it's all been pretty good. We've been very lucky and it's been great. But the biggest roadblock I would say for me has been I'm a big thinker. Like I think things in big scale. Like I want things to be big. I always have. And so I think being patient with the growth, and because it's like things can't grow so quickly, they have to grow. And so I've always wanted to, be very successful very quickly. And I think the patience involved in the growth of a business has been the biggest challenge for me.
Yeah.
And because I'm ready to go all the time, and just being able to be like, okay, well, the quickest way to grow the business is I need to have a team. I need to hire people who I can work with. And that takes time and developing those relationships. And then, so I'd say that the patience in getting where I want to go.
Yeah. Interesting. Because you can see it.
Roadblock. Yeah.
And you've seen it for a long time. It's just trying to get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Has anybody helped you along the way? Do you have anybody that's mentored you to get to this point?
My brother he gets, I think, probably 8 phone calls from me a day, maybe more. He doesn't answer all of that. But he has been my sounding board. He's very smart. We're complete opposites.
Yeah.
So I'm crazy, dreaming, honestly, half my days are too much. And he's helping
Grounds
me find the right level. So I would say he has really helped the business for sure from a functioning standpoint, and then also just listening to my craziness. And then so I'd say he's been the number one person that's helped along the way so far with Lola. And then as far as a mentor as for entrepreneurship, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to just people who've for years, actually.
Yeah.
Always. I've listened to podcasts about the stories of how people started their businesses. And there's just so many similarities in their stories that it's there's sort of a recipe to success with entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I'd say that just learning the stories of other business owners has been really helpful.
Yeah. Favorite podcasts?
Which is DRGN SLYR.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Other than this one. Yeah.
No, I don't as much anymore, but I listen to almost every episode of How I Built This.
I love that
Guy
one.
Raz.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit lately.
A few years ago, it was so
a few
perfect.
years ago, it was so good.
Yeah.
Now I'm I'm not as drawn.
Yeah.
But I listen to every episode. There's actually an episode that I've listened to probably 30 times. It's on Aiden and Anae. It's a baby blanket company.
Yeah.
But they're not a competitor. But it's just interesting because she had the same story as me. It was in sales. I was in the pharmaceutical industry, and she was in sales, and she worked her corporate job until she hit a certain number in revenue.
Yeah.
And I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I worked my corporate job until we hit the exact same number as her in revenue.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it full
It's
time.
time. It's the sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. What other podcasts do you like?
That's basically the only one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, I listen to Jesse Itzler a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like obviously Sarah Blakely is like the number one. That couple is like the number one go-to entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
and I really just like following them and listening to what they do.
Yeah, for sure.
So I first found out about your business when you did the pop-up shop in the mall.
Yeah.
Do you have other locations like that, or is that one the only one?
So that's the only one. We wanted it to be just here because that's where we're from. But it's done really well, especially over the holidays. And so we have plans to do, obviously, Idaho Falls location again, but then a couple others this next holiday season. It's not, our business is online. Like that's where we're doing the majority of the sales.
Mm-hmm.
So we're obviously putting our efforts on that, but it's fun to have a little spot. So yeah. We're going to do a couple more.
Very cool.
Probably, I think in Utah, actually.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your message to the world?
My message to the world. Oh my gosh. Okay. My message to the world, which is what I've learned a lot. I think I've always been brave, but I think that even more so since losing my mom, my bravery has even increased because I saw her go through the worst. Like I was like there for every second, and losing her is like, well, my closest person in life has already gone through the scariest thing possible, and she did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now my bravery is increased. So I would just say my message to the world is it sounds so cliche, but to truly just be brave and wake up every day and see the day as an opportunity, and that you're going to see what's going to happen. Like you're going to be brave and you're going to like face the day and just take it as an opportunity, because that's what it is. I know that sounds so cliche, but
it's okay.
It's true, because I think most people are scared.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think you're right.
Most people I talk to are scared. They're scared of so many things that's holding them back from the life or the career that they actually want. And like they won't admit that they're scared, but you can tell in talking to them that most people, I would say 95% of people, are really scared about what will happen if they fail, or honestly, they might be scared about what if they succeed. But there's fear associated, and I just think that you got to get over it. That's my message: is just get over it.
I love
and
that.
Be fearless.
Yeah, I think that's a great message. And to your point, I think it was Thoreau that said that most men live lives of quiet desperation. Yeah, and ultimately that's brought on by that fear that you're talking about, fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of success, just fear. Yeah. And you're right, man. The world needs more bravery. Yes. In almost every way.
And it's beautiful. Like being brave is like the coolest thing. Like it's like, I love seeing people take risks and believing in themselves enough. And it's the best. It's good energy too. It's good to be around people who are like that. So.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great message.
So good.
Yeah.
What's your handicap, Tommy?
There we
It's not
Zach's a golfer.
I mean, these days I don't really I was burnt. I don't really play that much anymore, but I mean, I don't know. At a time it was like nothing.
You're scratch golfer?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it was my whole life. It was my full-time job.
What was yours, Zach?
Oh,
what is yours?
I'm about a 16 right now.
Yeah.
It's great. It's good to I mean, now I play just to get out there and just be outside and have fun. But I'm trying to actually, now that I just moved to Utah. Yeah. And so now that golf is a little more accessible in Utah, I am planning on playing a little bit more.
Yeah. It's got to be tough to be a golfer around here, where it's like a frigid tundra most of the year.
Yeah. We got to do simulator.
We get like a solid 4.5 months of golf.
Yeah, can you imagine being in Florida? Have you ever heard of Miami, Zach? Yeah, I have. Just be playing golf every day, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
What was the transition like for you of going from being like a college athlete to not having that in your life?
Yeah, so that was actually hard. That was like, golf was my full identity for so long. It was everything who I was. And then when that was gone, it was just like the rug was pulled out from underneath me. And I, I had tried to, I was like, oh, now I have to make money. Like now I have to like worry about, real life. But yeah, it was difficult. But I actually just started, I'd sold alarms like a lot of people do. I just started selling. I just tried to make as much money as I could right out of college, just to give myself some options to think. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's been hard, but it's been not being a college athlete has been good. I think I was pretty burnt out by the end of it because I tried so hard for so long. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Did you feel like your life was out of balance at that point in time, or it's just like the only thing you did was golf?
Yeah,
go to school and golf.
I didn't even go to school. I literally just golfed.
Golfed.
Yeah. I was like, I'd return. I shouldn't, maybe this would be on here, but I'd literally get my books. I would not take the plastic off them, and I would return them at the end of the semester with the plastic on them. Which I don't know if this is maybe not great advice, but
this is going to be great.
If you are not going to be a doctor and you're not going to be a lawyer, I don't think you need to go to college.
I love that advice, actually.
That's interesting advice. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be controversial, but I mean, yeah.
I was a college athlete as well. And
what did you do?
I played softball.
Awesome.
And I feel like I can relate so much to like that transitional period after college. But thinking about what I really got out of college, there was a lot of growth through like learning the balance of school and softball.
Yep.
But outside of that, like I didn't learn a ton from like my education that I got. So.
Yeah, I would just be like, go get experience, like go get a job in the industry you want to be in. Like, I mean, if it doesn't require a degree, but like, or just start selling something, because another piece of advice, I think the ability to sell is really important.
Yeah.
Like if you can learn to sell something, like whether it be a pen or whatever, if you can sell, you have a skill set that can help you in anything, but especially in entrepreneurship, because if you can sell yourself. Right. You can sell yourself to a manufacturer. You can sell yourself to an investor.
You can sell your idea to your boss.
You can sell. Right. You need to be able to sell.
Yeah.
So
I had somebody tell me one time early in my career that every job is sales all the time.
All the time.
Right. Even if you're an accountant, you got to sell to your boss that you're a good accountant.
Yep.
Right. Whatever it is. So yeah, I agree. I think it's an underrated ability for sure.
Yeah. I think they should just teach. I mean, if they just here's a year on how to sell, do that, and then go on your way.
I don't
need to take.
So in lieu of school, so if you're going to say don't go to college,
right,
until we know what college even is anymore, what would you tell somebody to do instead?
I would say to sell.
Yeah,
go sell something.
Yeah,
you don't need a degree. Like go sell alarms. Go sell real estate. You can do that without a degree. Start a business. You don't need, you can be 19 years old, 18 years old, and you can build a Shopify website. You can get on Alibaba, find a you can do everything.
Drop ship something.
It's right. Shopify, it's literally in your hands. Yeah. The internet, Instagram, like you can reach everybody. Like you don't need to go to school to do that.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so bad, but it's just the truth.
It's authentic.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you think about, I know Bill Gates didn't finish college. Mark Zuckerberg didn't finish college. I don't think Steve Jobs did either.
Yeah.
I mean...
And if you want to learn something, you can just get on YouTube.
The internet's pretty incredible. All the things that you can get.
Yeah. It's so bad. Maybe not include that. I don't know.
Well, it's a hot take. It's not... I don't know that it's totally wrong, though. I know a lot of very successful people that never went to college.
Yeah.
I worked at a technology company, and on our board we had this guy named Josh James, who was the founder of Omniture before they sold it to Adobe, and then he started Domo after that, and he sat on the board of this technology company I was at, and he dropped out of BYU, and he's doing just fine, right?
Yeah.
Like he was, and he would tell you, like, you probably don't really need to go to school. Yeah. In fact, he told me one time that the best thing about going to college was he met some people that were important for his future, and that's about it.
Yeah.
He didn't learn anything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And And I think there's also, you see this, a lot of entrepreneurs, and I see it in you too, are a little like rebellious in nature.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
Right? Like you're built as a rule breaker, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to a rule follower a lot of the times.
Actually, maybe this is controversial. There are no rules.
Yeah, I totally.
There just really aren't.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. It's like, that's part of the being brave, is like, you can't be told no, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's another big piece of advice.
Yeah. Well, and there's something about our world where we develop this construct of rules.
Yeah.
That are they're fake. They're not even real a lot of the time.
They're literally fake.
Yeah, that's all they are.
It's all fake.
Yeah. We're in the Matrix, guys. That's what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's super true. Again, it sounds really cliche, but the rules are made up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, most of them are like totally unspoken and just exist in our brains.
Yeah.
And they're self-limiting,
mm-hmm.
and they cause us to not take the chances, to not, do courageous and brave things, and ultimately just hold us back.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this interesting exercise that I've done. I've actually done with my staff. It's been a long time now, but I do with people from time to time where it's almost like a game that you play. You walk in with like a chair, a blindfold, and like a bag full of cash. And this isn't going where you think it's going.
Yeah. Okay.
And you ask for like a few volunteers, and you like tie one person's leg to the chair and you blindfold the other. Then the third volunteer has no disadvantages. Then you just throw money around the room.
Okay.
And you say, here's the rule: whatever money you pick up, you get to keep.
Yep.
And what happens every single time is the person with no disadvantages runs around grabbing all the cash.
Yeah.
The person with the blindfold wanders around blind. The person with their leg tied to the chair usually does some kind of funny dance of picking up the chair and walking with it or something like that. And you get to the end of it, and the other two got almost nothing. And then the one person, with no disadvantages has almost all the money. Yeah. And then you stop and you say, what were the rules? And it was, you get to keep whatever money you pick up. Yeah. And like, why did you keep your blindfold on? Like, that's ridiculous. Right. Why did you keep your leg tied to the chair? Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. And in fact, you in the audience, you were standing right there. There was money on your lap. Why did you not pick it up? Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. It's because we create this set of rules that's not actually there.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have regrets about that. I was one of the bystanders. I was just sitting there the whole time. I was like, dang it,
you were involved in this.
Yeah,
okay.
I should have volunteered so that I could be blindfolded. I didn't think I could participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have regrets.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the lessons is like nobody invites you to participate.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody invites you to be successful. It's something you have to go out, club over the head, and drag back to your cave. Right.
Yeah,
that's what it ultimately is.
Yep.
So thank you for joining us on the DRGN SLYR Podcast by East Idaho Credit Union. We'll see you next time.
Woo!
Good job.